Namaste, Devya Sadra, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Sound Home Podcast. With me, like always, is my highly skilled, trained professional co-host, Mr. Parth Valunskar. And today we've got someone really special, all the way from Mumbai. We've got Miss Manuni Desai. Manuni is a really prolific singer based in Mumbai. Like I said, she's done a bunch of diverse work in terms of the work that she's put out. She's been pursuing music since the age of 3. In a career spanning over 20 years, which is incredible. And Manuni is a vocal trainer as well and also does voiceover work. Her influences include pop, hip hop, funk, and R&B, and she's also sang for Bollywood. She's basically done it all, and she's also pursuing a parallel indie career, if I may. And we're really excited to talk to Manuni today about a lot more about her processes, about her journey, her influences, and a lot more. So Manuni, namaste, welcome. How's it going? So good to have you here.
All okay, man. I One thing that's interesting is my career. I wish was spanning like 20 years. I've
I
just
was
been
not saying
singing.
sound like Lata Didi, but I'm sorry about that. But I'm really sorry about
I've
that.
been singing for 2 decades, but
Yeah.
career अभी अभी start हुआ है यार कुछ.
Like, you're just being too modest. But yeah, 20, I mean, you've pursuing music since 3 years. What I really found interesting is that I couldn't speak until I was 4, and you're pursuing music since you're 3. So, how did that sort of come to be? How did, like, were your parents sort of receptive to you singing, or like, how was it like you growing up?
So my family is like, they're like great connoisseurs of music. They love listening to music. Pehle se Kishore Kumar, this and that. We used to go on. And so as a baby, I would respond. Like, there was this song, "Hey, kya bolti tu?" And every single time that A would come around, I would just like turn.
Right. Oh,
That's how I used to respond to music. And if there was a particular song, there was a little line that had to be sung, my parents would wait, and then I would sing that line in my Totla
Right.
Slavas. So they kind of figured like, okay, she's kind of inclined towards music. Comes out naturally for her. So I think like any other Indian parent would think Indian classical में डाल दिया मुझे at age 4. And that's how it all started. Like, I used to sit cross-legged at age 4 in an Indian classical
Yeah.
class, and I would learn my paltas and whatnot.
Right. Right.
But yeah, I think I just picked it up from there. I would sing film music, and then later on Hannah Montana came. So then the entire focus shifted to Hannah Montana and High School Musical and Camp Rock and stuff. So then I shifted to Western a little after I had done some Indian training-ish. So
Right.
that's how it began, technically.
That's really interesting because I've also learned like classical music in my childhood, like for 3-4 years, and I sort of relate with like the whole doing riyaz in the morning and ensuring that you're learning a new rag every month, and then you have to do the saregama, the alaps, and the vocal
Yeah.
exercises, and sort of understand do your alaps on the basis of the octave of the harmonium and all those things, so I can, and the tanpuras and the electronic tanpuras and all of those
Yeah.
wonderful things. But that's really interesting that your parents sort of, I mean, were already inclined towards music and sort of told you to take things forward. Were you that inclined and that passionate about it, or was it something that you were sort of put through, like a kid going to school and just didn't know much any better and sort of just went through it, and along the way on the journey you sort of discovered this passion and love for music that has sustained you all this while? How has it been for you?
It's been passionate from like within me. There's been a lot of passion for music since the very beginning. I
Right.
at
Right.
the age of 4 and 5 used to imagine myself being on stage with thousands of people watching me and performing. So that's been my basic dream since the very
And you
beginning.
grew up to Hannah Montana, na? That's like the training.
Exactly.
You see Miley Cyrus doing that on a constant basis. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting. That's interesting. What I really found, I mean, majorly interesting about that is that you sort of began with classical and then went towards the other end of the spectrum, which is like Western music.
Yeah.
How was that transition for you? I mean, were you having like this musical identity crisis at that time? Why am I doing this? Should I do this? Or this is better or this is bad? What was it like for you? Or you were like, I'll do both. What is it like for you?
Not really, yeah, because the thing with me was that I was doing Indian classical. I shifted to light vocals, which is like a little more relaxed, but still has a classical base. But at the same time, I was learning with a teacher who wasn't probably catering to my voice and the kind of training that I needed. So I felt like I wasn't able to achieve anything even after putting too much hard work, because
Right.
somewhere the teaching was not adequate. in a way.
Okay.
Where like she would select a scale that's too high for me. मेरे parents वहीं पे बैठते थे and they're like throw करके गाओ बेटा, throw करके, and I was like
I love
you
that
know
term, throw karke gao. Yeah, I've heard that so
it's
much in my childhood. Yeah.
it's a very Indian thing, honestly. But so like I would hear these things and I felt like, okay, my voice isn't opening up. I'm not able to sing these notes. I think as an Indian vocalist, you need to be able to, pronounce these words right and to be able to do
Right.
it. But along with that, I started watching all of these Western shows and movies and stuff. And I used to just listen to it and sing, and that came in. I mean, that came really natural to me.
Right.
And I was able to kind of do that a lot better, and I felt a lot better while singing those songs, like the pop
Right.
Disney vibe at that point, and my texture suited that a lot more.
Right.
So
Right.
I just shifted after a point, and I started training myself. So I haven't had any Western training, and that just came naturally to me. So I went ahead and with the Western part. Yeah.
That's wonderful actually, because you sort of assess your aptitude on your own, because I mean, living in India, you are told what to do in larger. I mean,
Yeah.
I find that to be really interesting, and like you said that you're self-learned also. And I also wanted to sort of sort of touch down upon the fact that you sort of chose Western music, because there's a very predominant Western texture to the way you sing songs also, like how you sort of enunciate and like your throw, and all those things. So, who were the influences that you had growing up in terms of Western music, apart from like your Hannah Montanas and all the high school musicals and all those people?
It definitely grew from there. But
Right, absolutely, yeah.
like I think I've studied vocals a lot ever since I was a kid. So I studied technique, I studied everything like voice texture, vocal placement, and all of the very technical bits.
Right.
And Miley's voice, apart from just Hannah Montana, but even Miley's music for that matter, was something that I started listening to a lot. But I think I would consider somebody who I consider pretty much as a virtual vocal coach, who I've studied so thoroughly and listened to growing up, is Demi Lovato, who was from the same Disney universe.
The Disney,
Right.
yeah, absolutely.
But interestingly, I wasn't like a huge fan of hers when she was part of Disney, when she was doing like all these films and shows. I started following her after she moved out of Disney and started her own solo career. That's
Right.
when I had picked it up a lot more, and I was a much bigger fan of hers after she started actually like putting out music on her own as a solo artist. So yeah, she's one artist. Apart from her, obviously growing up listening to Whitney Houston and Celine Dion and all of those great
Oh, wow.
vocalists.
Right.
But it's kind of changed over time, where I haven't really just stuck to a certain type of singers. I've
Right.
kind of wanted to understand vocals not from just a vocal perspective, but also from a songwriting perspective, and so I've kind of moved on to listening to a lot more artists.
Singer-songwriter stuff.
Yeah, like singer-songwriter stuff, but also how like a certain type of vocal helps to explain writing better,
Right.
express writing better. Yeah, so that stuff
Right.
where they're not like hardcore vocalists, but damn good vocalists with the way they are expressing, and that's something that I've kind of like grown to listening to now. Yeah.
That's interesting. Good that you mentioned songwriting. I wanted to sort of know this, because if anybody looks at your career objectively, you've done so many things that it's difficult to sort of categorize you into this one particular thing that you sort of can be identified with, So, I mean, like you said, you began with classical music, you sort of developed this inclination and this sort of passion for Western music, and then you sort of forayed into different things. Like you said, that even your musical taste gradually parallelly evolved, right?
Yeah.
How did these sort of, like, good that you mentioned singer-songwriter stuff, because that brings me to like the first question we have for you. What is like your songwriting process? And how do you sort of look at songwriting with a career which has so many diverse directions it's sort of foraying into? And how important is it for you to, because you've done Bollywood stuff, right? And
Yeah.
the general consensus for Bollywood playback singers is that they are sort of in this, they put into this sort of mechanism where there's already a lyric writer, there's already a music producer, there's already a music director, there's already a director who's sort of dictating terms, and all those things, all these people involved. How do you sort of keep your individuality intact after being a part of both the systems, which is one is very liberating and one is very structured, organized, and streamlined? What is it like for you?
So from a songwriting perspective, I feel like I've gone through different, not just phases, but different experiences in terms of songwriting.
Right.
Since you mentioned film, I will come to that in my songwriting space as well. Initially, I always used my voice as an instrument. Always, my voice was always the only and sole instrument. And so I would come up with melodies and lyrics to go with those melodies. And that's how I would drive the song, make the song, and then figure out the chords kisi ke saath baith ke. Somebody you played. Then later on, and that was for the large part my writing process, where I would just come up with random melodies on my own, like dimag se, and I wouldn't know which key it is in or what it is. It's just like, okay, I'm kind of singing this melody. It has these many syllables to fit in, and so I have these words to fit in. Whatever, that kind of thing.
70% lyrics is secondary for you. You would have like scratch lyrics or dummy lyrics based on the syllables that sort of suit the meter of the song, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Right,
and I would pretty much freestyle. Like it was never a point where I had to like rewrite the lyrics, like write dummy lyrics and then rewrite it. Never like that. It was always like final lyrics hi likh rahi hu, but then I would freestyle and then just like change up like words or like little whatever here and there. So that was what I did for a large part since I was like 8-9 years old. I've been writing since then. So I did that till I was a certain age, and then films happened. And it's not just been like a thing where I've gotten to just sing for the films, but I've gotten to write for the films as well. So whatever I've sung, for at least for 3 of the films, I've written the songs as well. And so that process was entirely different because in the first instance where I was making up songs on my own, I was composing them as well. Here, when I'm writing for a film, there's already a brief given to you, whether it's written or whether the music director is in the room with you and kind of giving you like melody references and rather driving the melody, and you have to just figure out ki meter kya hai and what you were to write on that, on the vibe. So I kind of experienced that, and that was entirely different because like the speed at which I had to work was very different. Like when I'm writing my own stuff, I get to correct the lines, I get my time and space to kind of approve of what I want and whether it's correct. Here I had to be like super prompt. Like 2 of my film projects I had to deliver within like 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
What are you saying?
Yeah, like literally that.
I mean,
no, for real. Like Ye Saali Aashiqui karke ek film hai that came out in 2019. And I was in the studio, so they had asked me to write down something the night before. They messaged me around 2:30 at night saying like, this is the brief, forbidden love, blah blah blah, all this. Like they just wrote like pointers, and I wrote a verse and a chorus sort of a thing, and sent it to them within an hour by 3:30 in the night. And then they're like, okay, cool, come in the afternoon tomorrow and record. So I go in, and this is when I hadn't had any sort of reference ki track kaisa hone wala hai. Like I don't know how the track is produced. So I just wrote according to whatever I thought was suiting the brief that was given to me. I go into the studio, and he makes me listen to the track, the music director, and I'm like, okay, these lyrics are kind of going, but they're not even like fitting. So we kind of recompose the song on the spot. I wrote new lyrics on the spot. Half an hour ke baad, the producer and the actor and the director came to the studio while I was recording what I had just written, and they approved the song. So it's been that quick as well.
Wow.
Where like on the spot karke, you know, half an hour mein, acha, these guys are going to come in half an hour. We need to finish this project anyhow right now and deliver. So it's been like these two sides. And now because I also kind of support myself on an instrument, which is the keyboard, I can like sometimes take like chord references. I play with chords and I see, acha, this is how I can drive the melody, this is how I can like go with grooves and stuff. So now my songwriting has kind of like evolved, but at the same time I don't just go with the evolved process. If I feel like I just want to come up with a random melody on my own, I do that. If there's a brief given to me, which a lot of times still happens with commercial work, as well as like producers and DJs and other songwriters approaching me to write and collaborate with them, so tab you get like a brief, and then I still go back to like composing on my own with an instrument. So it's all jumbled, but I use whichever process that needs to be suited at a particular time. So yeah, that's the gist of it.
That is, you just I mean, that's so cool. That's so cool. I mean, I'm sure that efficiency, that you know, that I mean, there's that famous quote, I think from Picasso, right? Like if I'm doing it 10 minutes, it means that I've given 10 years to it or something like that. But I don't know, like I don't know. There's that very famous quote. Like, I mean, what I sort of mean to say is that I think that even the 30-minute thing has been years of like practice and that efficiency is built over time, right? You just can't directly go and do something that can get approved for like a movie. That's really cool. That's really cool. So, what I want to ask you, which is like a second part of the question, how liberating, like you even were talking about the fact, see, because as a singer-songwriter, things are generally largely in your control, right? Like in terms of how you sort of because lyrics have a mood and so does the tune, right? The melody. So the tunes sort of might differ sometimes. How liberating is the process in terms of like I'm sure it is more liberating as a singer-songwriter, but do you sort of find that freedom working in the sort of boundaries of Bollywood as well, that you feel that the music composers are more empathetic and understanding towards what you are trying to say and sort of the vibe, like meeting you middle ground in terms of rather than saying that this is how I'm going to do it and you give me the lyrics and this is my call. How is it like for you? How's the experience been for you?
So far, it's been pretty chill for me because the people that I've happened to work with, and majorly one music director, he calls me in for work that he knows I can deliver. Like, that's my vibe.
Right.
So, knowing that this is my forte, this is my strength area, is when I know that, okay, this is my ground now. I get to take control here because this is my forte. He calls me like Chaka Khan. It's really funny. Chaka Khan is a very popular funk singer. Soul funk singer. So he calls me that, and so every single time if there's something that is of the kind of music that I already do, he knows that maybe I'm fitting for this particular thing.
Right.
But at the same time, I have had to do completely weird projects that are opposite of who I am. Like there's a movie called Simran which stars Kangana Ranaut, and we're doing the background score. I get a message in the afternoon saying, write a Gujarati Hindi rap. I'm like, I don't rap, I don't write rap, nor do I write in Gujarati or Hindi. So why me? They're like, likh le, you'll do it. Just do it, bring it to the studio and we'll see. And so I'm like, okay, shit, I need to deliver now. This is like, because if you get work from like commercial work like this, you can't just let it go. You would have to do something unless you've tried every possible thing and then you're like, okay, ye mujhse nahi hoga. But till then I would want to try. So I kind of asked my mom, I was like, acha, Gujarati words bolo mujhe, because I am Gujarati. So I just like asked her all of that, whatever. I wrote something random and I go into the studio. There's a rapper already in the studio who's like writes like insanely well. His name is Parry G. So he had come in and he rapped his verse, and then they're like, okay, itna section hai, Manuni, you have to deliver your verse. And I'm like, okay, this is what I've written. Let me just try it out on this beat, because I'm anyway feeling uncomfortable and I'm like, acha, this is not my forte. Why am I even here? But I did it. And they were like, damn, this is quirky. This doesn't make sense, but it's beautiful. It's in the movie. I mean, they've tested these really quirky, weird sides that I have, I don't know, delivered somehow that I did not believe in, but they did. And so, like, if I were to just define myself, then I'd be putting myself in a box. But when other people see different potentials in you and they approve of your stuff, that means that there are a lot more sides to you as an artist. And so I got to do that. Then another film called PM Modi, which had come out in 2019, I kind of helped co-write a song, one of the songs in the film. So again, that was...
Is it a song about like Modi calling his mom and saying, "Main bahut aage aa chuka hu"?
Ha, the Namo Namo song.
Oh wow, you written it.
So I've co-written like there's one section which is in Gujarati. It's the rap in Gujarati.
Yeah, I know. He's walking in the parliament or something and he's bored looking at me.
So I co-wrote.
I saw that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is something that I again got to write on, and again it's a stimulus it's a stimulation for me as a writer, because like I don't want to put myself in a box of this is what I do as an independent artist, but I have a lot more sides to me that I'm probably not able to express because I have set a brand for myself. But in Bollywood or in any other project where you're contributing to something else, you get to go beyond your boundaries and be like, acha, there are these sides to me as well, which I'm probably restricted to when I'm doing independent music.
Right.
So it's actually both, where though it's liberating in Indian, in my indie music, it's also somewhere interestingly liberating when I'm doing it in a commercial space as well, because I get to tap into different sides of me that I possibly did not know. So that,
what's really fascinating about that is that you're doing these risky you're taking these risky decisions and sort of enabling these sides of yours at such a high stakes situation, probably because Bollywood is like the paramount for everybody. It's like the gold standard. That's where most of the previous generation growing up to Indian Idol and Saregamapas and everything, or
Yeah.
listening to radio, and that was like the thing. Even though now you have people with ambitions of becoming an indie musician, looking at the Pratik Puhars and Ankur Tiwaris and all these wonderful people in the industry. So tell me about this. Working in Bollywood and working in the indie space. Indie space has its own set of forms with Bollywood. Bollywood has its own set of forms. Not that we're going to touch on that. What my question here is that how streamlined are both the processes? Having worked, what are the strengths of each other that probably they could sort of feed off each other and make themselves even more strong in terms of how they function? What do you think they can learn from each other? Bollywood and Indie?
So the thing is that I haven't fully fledgedly worked in Bollywood, nor have I been like a full-fledged indie artist. Matlab, I've kind of had equal delving into both.
Correct.
So from an overall point of view, and obviously there might be people who are experienced a lot more than me in both the sectors, can probably add to this at some point whenever they see this podcast. I would say that one thing that independent music has is novelty. And there is nobody like telling you that अच्छा ये गाना चल रहा है तो ये ऐसे ही बनाना है. Like this is the norm, so we're going with this. Like
result oriented calm rather than process oriented.
Yeah, I mean not always, but in a lot of cases, at least as a listener is what I can say. But one thing that indie can learn from Bollywood somewhere is the pace at which they work. So like I have taken like 2 years to record something and finalize a project in indie, and delivered with equal efficiency and quality within 20 minutes of it being approved and then out. So a lot of times the indie musicians and myself included, we overthink a lot. Like, ये अच्छा है या नहीं है, ये वो है, ये वो है. You're always like hanging, Bollywood में, या फिर at least the projects that I've worked on, it's very quick. Like you deliver your best because there's pressure on you to deliver your best, and then it's approved. Like if it's approved, it's great. If it's not approved, you correct it right there because you have no time, and you have to deliver the next time, otherwise you're out of the job. So like that efficiency with which you work in at least what I've experienced in working in the commercial space has been great, where I get to feel challenged in a way. Like pressure, but like good pressure, good stress, you stress. So I think that's something that both can like take from each other, and I feel like the commercial space is kind of going towards the indie route as well now, because formulas nahi chal rahe hain abhi. People are looking for novelty, people are looking for different types of music coming in and all of that. So wo hai, and even indie for that matter is kind of taking to doing things faster because there's so much competition now. There's so many artists coming in. Rap अगर देखो तो rap industry जो है, hip hop, like there's like 20 songs coming out in 1 week, man. Like it's that's how
competitive. One on Mass Appeal, one on top. Everybody has a new EP coming in every third week. Absolutely.
So that pressure, that good amount of pressure is somewhere there also. So I think they're both learning from each other, but these are majorly the points that I would probably talk about and highlight.
Right. So I have this question. You spoke about rap, which is something I want to touch in the next question. What I really find interesting is that like I said that I mean, which is sort of generally the case that people want to get to Bollywood. People use indie also as a means to sort of get to Bollywood and get one big song and probably tour and do all those things and probably become on reality TV shows and all of those things. Which is like the general route and sort of the sort of roadmap which has been laid with your Sonu Nigams and your Stans and everybody in the last 20-30 years. Tell me about this, that having done both. I mean, like you say that, I mean, I'm sure you're being modest about this, but you've not completely delved into both of them. But how do you sort of derive this contentment from? Like, what is the driving force to you? How are you still so passionate, and what keeps you going? Because you sort of done both, right? I mean, how do you sort of keep yourself intact, the passion intact, and you like have to keep going? Still, there's a lot for me to be doing in the body of work that I want to put out. How do you keep that going?
Majorly it's the passion, because I've fought for
Ah,
15 years with my family to be able to do it full time now. It
ah,
took a lot of convincing, because of course in in
right.
India, parents of course want a safe future for their kids and
Absolutely.
stuff. So
Ah,
it took a while for me to like go
right.
through multiple career options to actually saying that, what, I've never wanted to do those things,
Ah,
and I've really fought for it. So I mean,
right.
fought for it, not a very tough battle, but a very personal battle of mine,
No, I can
which
understand.
is to finally feel contented that finally I'm doing something that I've always just wanted to do, and I'm getting full-fledged support from my family. So
Yeah.
that itself has been a driving force, and apart from that, I have no plan B. This plan A. Planning,
Oh,
अगर सिर्फ plan A है
right.
तो plan A को कुछ भी करके काम कराना है.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
that
Right.
means that if there's a roadblock, like a pandemic kind of a situation, where if I'm only a live musician or only a sessions musician,
Ah,
things just stop, and so you got to like look for other things to do
which you
within
have. Which you
the
have.
same.
Right. Your plan
And
also has
yeah.
planned. So it's like you just covering the whole spectrum. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, basically just that, yeah. Like having just a plan A will kind of make you a lot more focused into
So,
finding ways to make that plan A work anyhow. And
so
anyhow being something that can really drive me and push me into learning new things and delving into more or different types of avenues within music itself.
right.
So definitely that has been my driving force, and that's what keeps me going even now, where I've always had the zeal of creating, putting my sound out there, as well as like doing whatever I can to keep myself busy and
Hmm.
not feel like, as an artist you have that feeling na कि अरे यार मैं क्या कर रही
Ah,
हूँ, am I
right.
doing enough and all of that. So just to keep myself out of those thoughts and going
Ah,
into a very vulnerable space,
ah,
just keep myself busy and so keep doing
ah,
things. Yeah.
ah. नहीं थोड़ा बहुत existential crisis तो जरूरी है. मतलब थोड़ा बहुत
हर
स्वाद
हर इंसान
अनुसार.
को होता
But
है. Yeah.
but हाँ नहीं. वरना song writing कहाँ से आएगी? But हाँ नहीं absolutely.
Mhm.
So I mean tell me about this. You were talking about the hip hop industry, and I've seen that done collabs with like the Cypher and were like established sort of the pillars of like the beatboxing sort of artistry, which is sort of different from what you do, right? Like from the general stuff you do. What I really find interesting about this is that you're not sort of like, of course, in terms of the work also that you're doing, you can categorize yourself, right? Like, I mean, even if you're doing voiceover work, you'll be like, I only do this type of voiceover. Even if I'm doing like, like if I'm singing also, I'm doing this type of genre. What I really found interesting is that even when you're not categorizing yourself, even in those categories, you're not categorizing yourself. You're getting what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So, what is the whole sort of process been of like collaborating with all these wonderful diverse artists, and how did those collabs come to be? What is something that you look in an ideal collaborator for your vibe to sort of match with that person?
So I've always looked at music as like being a student of music, no matter
Right.
what. So
Ah,
genres have always evolved, and compartmentalizing myself would be not having enough openness and not being a real student of music.
right.
I mean, that's just how I look at it. There are disciplines, people follow different disciplines. That's just how I follow, where I listen to a lot of world music, and my like different aspects of my music have come from different genres. Like
Right.
if I would talk about vocal style, then that's majorly come from pop, R&B, and soul. If I
Right.
talk about songwriting, that's majorly been has come in from hip hop, because I listen to a lot of rap, rhyme, flows, structures, all of that stuff. And so having those things within my own music allows me to work with other people who are doing those particular things. And like hip hop has been a very, very important genre for me, because I have not only just followed it and listened to it, but I've also been super supportive of the scene and their hustle and their drive to create. And so and it's a sound that I genuinely just enjoy. Like I've attended a gazillion hip hop events in the last year, like pre-pandemic, of course. And even after the pandemic, I think is saal mein hi, I think Jan Feb, I did attend like 1 or 2 hip hop gigs and stuff, which was something that I genuinely enjoy. So it just came naturally to me for me to collaborate with rappers, with beatboxers and stuff. I'm also part of a duo where my duo partner is a beatboxer guitarist.
Yep.
So
Okay.
that's like a
What's the name of the duo?
we don't call ourselves any specific name. We're just Manuni and
Okay.
Nicholas. But
Okay, who's like your collaborator in the game?
yeah. So I've been gigging with him the most actually. My mainstream gigs happen with my duo partner, who's a beatboxer guitarist.
Okay.
So I mean, I've been aware of the scene for a bit now, and so that just makes me naturally want to collaborate because they're also peers and friends of mine.
Yeah.
And definitely tapping into the hip hop scene is also great because I get to connect with a different audience, and they are always looking for R&B vocalists as well. So
Yeah.
as an R&B vocalist, it just like fits, you know, like
Right, absolutely.
and then in the pop scene where pop or indie scene, I want to collaborate with like other like vocalists, like vocal driven musicians. I'm also somewhere wanting to like work on arrangements and compositions because I've done that for film work as well as for myself. So then that allows me to then work with producers who I can arrange with, DJs that I can work with and write with, even indie musicians for that matter. So I think it's like there's like an open ground and you find yourself fitting into anything because of what you drive from that.
Right.
So that's been my main thing.
That's so cool. I had no clue that you're so deeply connected to hip hop. Because hip hop is something that I was sort of got into like in the past few years. I like in the whole, I'm not even kidding, the whole Jan, I listened to Ras's whole discography, which is like 16 albums. So like if I'm not wrong, used to put out one song on SoundCloud every week, 2012. And I mean, I was blown away by what, and I got to know about Ras through like Emiway, because Emiway looks up to Ras, and then Divine and Emiway were supposed to do a collab with Ras and all those things. So who's like your favorite rapper in the scene? I mean, I of course there's not one. Like you, for lyrically, you'll probably go to Krishna, and then like for like, I mean, there's like the old Delhi circuit and the Bombay circuit, which are sort of like at sort of like the pillars of like our country, and then you have the Brother V and all these people from the wonderful people. So who are the people you sort of look up to in the whole sort of spectrum of hip hop in India?
In India, so initially I think the first proper Indian rapper I had heard was Divine. And having worked with Parry G, because I'd worked with him, so I knew him and I'd seen that. But from the hip hop scene, I had seen Divine. And then I got to meet a very good friend of mine, Gravity, who's from the crew Bombay. And so I was mesmerized by his songwriting, like his flow structures, his metaphors that he uses, and that's something that I hold very close to even my songwriting, where I like to write like that, and so I really connected with him. And then right now there's a rapper from Bombay called Yashraj Mehra. Who's part of Represent Management now. So in fact, before he even joined Represent Management, like he was a friend of another friend of mine, and through him he met me, and then we used to hang out, and then he got to, you know, like be a part of Represent and stuff. So it was pretty crazy where we got to see his journey grow from like a regular artist to like the artist that he is today. So I really look up to his art, his writing, his music, everything fantastic. Delhi circuits, I think Seedhe Maut are like,
absolutely.
I love their sound. And of course Says on the Beat being there is like any absolutely. And then there's Youngsta, who's someone I collaborated with on his recent album. I did one track with him on that album. There's Prabdeep, like he's a full musician. I love
the latest album.
Tabia, it's brilliant. It's a work of art, you know.
So good. He's standing at the chessboard. I found that so good.
I've had a little brief conversation with. I actually went for an Azadi gig in Feb, where I saw Seedhe Maut live, I saw Prabdeep live, I saw like a bunch of artists in Azadi live. So it's pretty sick. So I've honestly listened to a lot of rappers, but majorly Gravity, Yashraj, and Prabdeep and Divine and all these guys.
Right.
People I enjoy.
Right. No, absolutely. I actually remember Decipher had come to Pune for one of the gigs which had happened. There was this hip hop sort of thing which was happening here in social, where it was, I'm forgetting the name of the gig, where all the people from Pune were there. I think P-Man was hosting. I don't know whether you know. I'm sure you might.
I know P-Man. Yeah,
absolutely. He's such a well-known entity, and I think the Cypher was co-hosting with him, and then you had like all the fitness teams. I genuinely feel that hip hop gigs and metal gigs have their own vibe. Like they can't.
It's a crazy vibe, man. It's honestly, it's very high energy. So you're always pumped, for sure. Yeah.
And like people are dancing and like all the sort of.
You get to like let loose. See, that's one thing where like I've wanted to attend as many hip hop gigs as I do with indie or jazz stuff, because I feel like you have to be really poised and sophisticated. And then you go to a hip hop gig or like a metal gig where you just get to headbang and like chill out, you know, just get to be free. Nobody's judging you. There are people crazier than you in the scene around you, and so you get to let loose and just enjoy the music and just chill out and vibe with it. So I feel like I want to strike that balance with all different genres that I go in to watch. Yeah.
Absolutely. Of course. Who's like your favorite hip hop like
producer?
Yeah, of course you mentioned Stairs on the Beat, who's like the but then like you have amazing people like Karan Kanchar.
Oh, I adore Karan. Like
Huge
fan of his. He's super supportive. Like he's also a friend. So I, you know, like him sharing his story of how everything happened for him, because we are the same age, me and him, and so it's definitely like very.
I didn't know. I'm sorry. I like his hair. I thought that he's like 30 or something. I don't know. Yeah.
No, he's the same age as me. He's 23. Yeah.
What do you? Karan Kanchar in 23 has produced such iconic stuff. What do you?
I hope that he doesn't mind me revealing this.
No, it's okay. I mean, what am I doing with my life? Karan Kanchar.
No, but honestly, like I've been very proud of him, very happy, and I got to meet him, or rather know him, only in the lockdown, because he's friends with my friends.
Right.
And so he's definitely. I think Satya is one track I just bop to like a lot. Even some of his Japanese trap stuff that he does, I think I love that. So definitely Karan Kanchar says of
Yeah, absolutely. What were you saying? Yeah.
So so these two producers, there's another producer called Zarons. He's based, I mean, he's in Bombay. He's part of, I mean, he has a studio here in Bombay called Wine Studios. So him and his brother, who's a sound engineer. So his actual name is Shikhar Srivastava, but he goes with the name Zarons. So he's done one track that I worked on Youngstars album. And insane producer. In fact, me, Zarons, and Decipher and Beatraw, and there's another vocalist called Anushka Shivashankar. The 4 or 5 of us, we worked on a Christmas album, like one track on a Christmas album together. So we're all like kind of done a revamped version of All I Want for Christmas by Mariah Carey.
I heard that, yeah.
So I mean, like he does, like Zarons is one guy who can like do some really interesting level stuff with like orchestration, but at the same time make some sick like hip hop beats as well. So he's one guy that I really vibe with in hip hop as well. So I can namely say these many. I don't know that many hip hop producers, but I'm guessing that there are some insane ones by the kind of music I've heard from everybody right now. Like even people that produce for Emiway or people that
Tony James, Flamboy, and
There's Akash Ravikrishnan also, who's another
Akash guy, right? Who does for Loka and all.
Yeah, and before that he had an album called Overseas, on which he had Bombay Local and DMC and all of these guys. So like he's one really good producer as well. So yeah, I've heard a bunch and I've really respected all of them. Definitely want to work with them in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. They're doing such exciting and uniquely diverse work. You know, like even Phenom and like Stunna Beats who've done like stuff on Vine.
Oh, Stunna is amazing. I love his stuff.
Excellent. Stunna is excellent. I love the diss track that you produced for Emiway for Divine. I mean, I love the production of both of them. But I mean, that was excellent. So when we were talking about like the fact of like, you know, energies of like hip hop gigs and all those things, I mean, you've been someone who's sort of ventured into gigging also and have done a lot of gigging, right? If I'm not wrong. What is your whole experience as a gigging artist been? I'm sure that it has helped with the efficiency of you as a musical entity also, where you can sort of read rooms better. You have like a performer stamina is also very important when you're doing that 2 or 3 hour set. What is like your whole sort of how has gigging contributed to the artist that Manuni is?
I feel like I have yet to explore a lot more in gigging. Though I've performed a lot, I've grown up performing and I've done a lot of gigs. a lot of them being like restaurant chill sets, where you don't have that much interaction, to doing jams which are like high energy, like quite a few people watching and enjoying your music, and then like the whole wedding stuff, that is a different thing. But I feel like though I've done a few of each, I feel like there's a lot more for me to explore, because one thing I haven't done is travel to different cities, and I've always wanted to do that. I was about to do that, but then the pandemic of course hit. I've always wanted to perform at High Spirits, man. Pune. I've never been to Pune, funny enough. But
you want to perform at High Spirits?
Yeah, I've never been to Pune.
It's the best when Parthbhai just performed at High Spirits. He did like a just before it closed, and he killed it. So Parthbhai, tell us about that. Let's make Parthbhai feel back for not.
No. So I think the only thing sad about the whole pandemic is that we are not able to see gigs, right?
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough, fortunate enough to get a gig right before everything closed in March.
Yeah.
So Bharat organizes open mics as well in Pune, and funny thing is we both met on
High Spirits.
Yeah, nothing but in High Spirits, and he was the part of the organizing side of things. I was performing in the open mic, and so we've actually started from High Spirits, and to be honest, I mean that's a venue that everyone in Pune would, I think, say that that's the venue that you want to perform always. That's the kind of venue you want.
Absolutely. I mean, Manvi, I'm not just kidding. Like, I mean, not to make you feel bad, I've performed there 30 times. But not to make you feel bad.
That's alright,
but you sang in Bollywood, so I've not done that. Okay, so it's okay. That flex is bigger than mine. Okay, so no, I mean, I really like High Spirits because like we have the best requisites in terms of sound and lighting, which is such an important aspect of enhancing the vibe and empowering the artist.
Definitely.
I mean, you've done like restaurant gigs, you know how sometimes it can be and how complacent sometimes.
Worst sound. I have dealt with the weirdest setups, but go on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I once played on a setup which was actually used for karaoke.
Oh my god.
And so they had a small mixer, but all it did was give you either it will give you some delay or more delay. There was no delay was also not a function. So I was like singing songs with at a point of time I was doing it because I knew okay ठीक है this is one gig down, that's all. Service के बाद पैसा मिलने वाला है बस. That's the only thing that I did that gig for.
Honestly, that is one thing that sometimes is a driving force to you doing.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Oh, for sure. I wouldn't lie. But yeah, I feel like I have a lot more to explore at this point where I always feel glad that I hear stories from other people having performed at different types of places. But yeah, I can't really say much about performance, though I am very much a performer when it comes to like drawing crowds and stuff. But I feel like there's a lot more experience that I would want to have to be able to confidently say, yo, these are the things that you can do on stage and stuff like that,
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah. So I feel like in my space right now, it's been pretty okay, but there's a lot more to do.